It's a big part of who I am, and it's a big part of my identity as a person, and I have to thank Queen Video for a lot of that.
It's always so great and so welcoming to just walk around and find new things. And so it's really sad to see this one go.
Video stores are great, and they're going to be missed so much. You know?
Well, I grew up in Toronto.
Right.
And I eventually made it to University of Toronto and studied business, and finished in 1980. Not a good time because there was a recession and there were not a lot of jobs in accounting and finance. So I opened a stereo store here on Queen Street in 1981, and it had one little tiny shelf of films, movies, VHS tapes for rent, and I didn't even intend it to be a video store. It was a stereo business. But the stereo industry wasn't very good for an independent at the time, so I noticed the movies, especially in this Queen West neighborhood, were doing really well, even though there was only 150 of them. So about a year later, I converted the store to just a video store. I was renting them for, I think, $3 a night. Rentals were one night back then. Movies were costing about $80. And I thought, well, maybe even though I thought university was a partial waste of time, one thing it did taught me was the return on the investment at $3 a night for an $80 item, and they were going out every night, was fantastic. Yeah. I saw the potential. I was not a lover of films or cinema any more than the average person at the time, but I saw the financial model had real potential. There's quite a few films in here that I had to buy from the filmmakers themselves. Yeah. Directly from them. Often they were selling them out of their homes. And like Frederick Wiseman, for example, he's a award-winning documentarian. Yeah. And I have his films. You can only buy them from him.
Right. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah. That's just one example.
Yeah. So are those just being sold off?
They're all mixed in. You know, if I started to pick out the gems, what would I do with them? Yeah, I already have them at my other store, which is remaining open, so I'm just leaving them in here. And the public really is unaware. Yeah. It's just, to them, everything is either available or not available. They don't really know.
The people who are going to buy these esoteric titles want those titles. So at least you're going to get, let's say, somewhat informed purchasers. Right. And they're going to hold on to these things. They're not just going to, you know, they're going to watch them and flip them into the recycling. Yeah. So there's a way in which it's the dispersal that troubles me, because that means at best one person is going to have a title, and maybe that person will show it to a few friends, but it's going to be restricted to that person. Whereas if it was here or at another institution that was interested in having the maximal number of people see those titles, they would live on through another version of curation in a way. Yeah. And that's also one of the true losses here, is that there will inevitably be titles that are available at a store like Queen Street that you will not find anywhere else, online, anywhere. I mean, because the distributor has probably gone out of business, and that means that the title is in some kind of limbo, which means that an online service isn't going to be able to pick it up because there's not going to be rights clearance, or they wouldn't even know how to get it because that distribution stream is gone. What I would say is, and this is where people are going to regret the loss of a store like Queen Street, is that you have expertise that you're going to lose. That people will actually be able to direct you to find the sorts of things that might interest you. If you don't know enough, you can go to a resource that's online, but it can't tell you what to watch. Now people will say, oh, we've got these services like, if you like X, you'll like Y. But that's a pretty generic way of handling customer interest.
Well, I was a customer here when my sister used to send me down here when I was about 15, because the place was open a few years prior to me working here. Yeah. And I used to come in, my sister used to send me down because she'd be at home with her girlfriends. They'd have girls' night, and they'd be like, and Queen Street wasn't the greatest neighborhood, right? Yeah. it'd be in the evening, and she'd kind of go, I'll give you $5 if you go down to Queen Video and get some movies for us, and, you know, I'll buy you a treat, and, like, you know, whatever you can get, like, go get a snack from McDonald's or whatever it may be. And I was like, so I'm going to get to watch a movie, I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to get food. I was coming in here for a couple of years, and I just walked in here one day, and I was like, Howie, I need a job. And he was like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. So I hounded him a few times, and eventually he hired me. Yeah, I grew up in the project, Alexander Park, just a few blocks from here. Yeah. So this was the local video store. It was a nice area. It was a rough neighborhood. Yeah. Growing up here, it was, you know, there's low-income housing, right? Yeah. So there was, you know, really nice people that were hardworking and just, you know, struggling to get by. And then there was bad people that would, you know, find the opportunity to sell their and peddle their drugs here. The 80s and 90s, early 90s, it was a bad neighborhood, just a block up. So yeah, it's changed a lot. Yeah. I mean, there still is rough patches. You see it at Queen of Spadina. You see it, you know, behind here they have a detox center here, all the troubled youth. That being said, it was nothing like the drug era of the late 80s and early 90s here.
I think I'm pretty protective of my relationship with Chris. He is just such a genuinely nice guy. So I think it's super unfortunate that this thing that's been such a constant for what I guess would be most of his life is kind of falling away, because I think that would be really, really hard on anybody. And because I think he's just kind of, he's been there since he was like 15 or 16. Yeah. So like, you know, having anything kind of, having the bottom drop out of anything after that amount of time, I think would be extremely disorienting and strange. But I also feel like for the amount of time that he's kind of put into that place, he was probably not as appreciated as he should have been. I don't know if he still is, but he was just extremely dedicated to Howie. I'm sure that he was, you know, especially when we were doing really, really well for those years, I think that he was probably very comfortable and compensated fairly, but like again, but he liked being a martyr too, where he liked like kind of pointing out how many hours he was putting in. But yeah, like he was coming in. You could call Chris at like 2 in the morning if it was a Queen Video thing, and he'd be over there like huffing and puffing, like ready to figure out what's going wrong.
He works to make the store clean, does general repairs, and then the biggest thing is he maintains this personal relationship with all of the customer base, and that's the reason people keep coming back.
I've had people coming in now that we're closing that just they don't even want to buy anything. They've just come in to take a picture with me, bring me a bottle of wine and hug me, and give me their number to stay in touch. I've had numerous customers just this weekend hugging me, and they were crying because they're going to miss the place. And I have a customer, particularly Mohammed. He's an older man. He used to live in the neighborhood. He moved to Scarborough years ago. He comes in by Wheel-Trans once a week on Saturday to pick his movies for the week, and he stays here for 2 hours while Wheel-Trans comes back and picks him up. I go get him a coffee from McDonald's and a muffin every week. He buys 1 week, I buy 1 week. I told him the week prior to us closing that it was happening. And he sat there with his head down for 2 hours, and he was like almost in tears. Yeah. Because he's been coming here for like 25 years. Howie and I used to go do trips sometimes, and it'd be like I'd pull up a late list and I'd look at it and go, Howie, I've been calling this guy for 6 weeks. He's not bringing these movies back. And we were a small shop then, so, and they were VHS. So they were like $80 to $100 each. So it was like imperative you get them back, like, because they would have 2 or 3 out. That's a lot of money. Yeah. And so Howie would be like, I'll come with you. Let's go knock on that door. And we would kind of go knock, give us our movies back, kind of try and be intimidating. But it was fun. You know, we used to do stuff like that all the time.
There was an era when we couldn't afford to lose movies. Yeah. So if they weren't returned, we used to go to people's homes to get that, knock on the door and ask for them back. Once knocked on the door and it swung open. Yep. 2 Doberman pinchers came running at us, so we grabbed the door and shut it.
How he treated me well, and you know, he treated me well. He's a great boss, and he treated me well for a long time. Working for someone, you don't work somewhere for 28 years because, you know, unless the money is amazing and you love it. You know, yes, I've had hours cut and et cetera, et cetera. Those are the sign of the times, you know. So those are circumstances that are nature of the business. Absolutely. So what are you gonna do? You know, it comes to an end, right? Like this industry is struggled for a lot of years, and what can I tell you? What can I say? Like, what can he do to make it better? Absolutely. Like, I don't know, you know.
Feeling a bit relieved, and I'm trying to reflect back on 35 years of memories, events. It's going to take a while to do that.